There isn't anything in the budget. It would be either, you know, if you all introduced bills, and then it's you know, an RFP, which would go out. But I believe that we would get more partnerships if we did have 40 years. It's not perfect, but it's better than what we have now, which is only 20 years. And it's many of these historic sites are at a level of deterioration that are going to require a very large investment of dollars. So, and if you get a 40-year, you don't even have to go to 40 years, but you could at least go to 29 years, which it makes you eligible for the tax credits. So now investors aren't even eligible for the historic preservation tax credits. So it would be.
Well, I will be working on that again, in particular the project in my district on Seneca Lake with Sampson State Park, and the deterioration of that marina there requires such an investment that just really can't feasibly be recouped with user fees over that shorter period. So I look forward to working with you in your office on that. Would your preference be to do these individually, or I know we had a package of bills last year and that kind of tied things up with a number of parks in there together. What are your thoughts on that?
We have, we know, we've done a whole inventory, and so we have a lot of parks that could benefit from it, and it would be in your hands to decide, but we can certainly share with you just our thoughts of where there are both market opportunities, real need, which would restore, renovate, and bring them into a functional use.
Would it be preferable to the department to have more of a blanket authorization to go to that length when you deem it appropriate at the department, or we come to you with a piece of legislation for every individual instance that you're thinking that's necessary?
I'm going to leave that to your wisdom because it depends. But what's preferable to our department is that we have opportunity for these kind of partnerships, and I think the 40-year lease would give that.
Okay. That's all I have, and thank you for your stewardship of our parks, of which our #3 national rated park, Watkins Glen, is within my district. Yes. It's gorgeous, yes. And Letchworth being just outside of it. That's quite a recognition this year for our state park system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Assemblyman Otis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, thank you for your comments. We have one of those successful not-for-profit public partnerships in my district, and it has gone very well. And I certainly think that even if the legislature were to still want to approve these on a case-by-case basis, one way to move the ball on this is to at least provide a format that a boilerplate that you can then show to prospective groups on these properties, and so I think the legislature needs to collaborate with you on what that boilerplate would be. But that would probably ease the marketing of these opportunities to not-for-profits or for-profit kinds of entities. But we have a good one on the Sound Shore.
A great one.
My question is about, it's been such a great investment the last 5 years in terms of capital projects for state parks. Do you manage the planning, design, construction out of Albany or out of the regions? I mean, it's a big increased workload to manage $90 million a year. So just briefly, some picture on how the department is organizing themselves for that.
So we basically work with our regions, and we get all of their thoughts for their needs. And as you know, before this program even started, we had, $1.1 billion backlog, which is higher now, with time. Every year it goes higher. And then they gave us what all the needs are. And, this is a big piece of it is just basic infrastructure, because you can't do anything new until you fix the basic infrastructure. And then we work with out of Albany and look at it, and then we work with consultants and contractors for design. And if it's a a big change, then there's, we definitely have public outreach. If it's, basic infrastructure, then we go forward. And as with everything, with the state, it's a long process. So, you start in year one, and it's going to be year three that it's going to get done. So we really have a pipeline now that's in place. And in some years, we got to aggregate money before we can go forward. But it's a very rigorous, from the ground up process. And then with design, if it's brand new and different, then there's also public outreach.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your great work on all these issues and everyone
Thank
at
you.
State Parks.
Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you very much. Next is Senator Liz Krueger.
Hi. I'm surrounded by senators who have enormous amounts of parkland in their districts and apparently compete over the best parks in the country, so wonderful. I am from very densely populated New York City, where if we find 14 trees together, we put a bench next to them and say it's a new park. When we're very sensitive about our desperate need for green space. So in your testimony, you talk about some of the models you've been using, including Smorgasburg in East River Park in Brooklyn. I know what smorgasburgs are. There's a number of them, and they're delightful. They're basically go and eat outdoor food by creative, famous or not so famous chefs. My concern is for state parks in urban areas. In New York City parks, we have some fairly strict rules about not letting commercial ventures encroach on our very limited urban park space. And I'm curious, does the state have some kind of parallel process? Because, again, I love to go to these kinds of places and enjoy outdoor eating, but I worry that for economic revenue purposes, we might find ourselves in some places, probably the urban small parks, taking park space away for active green space and turning it into commercial activity. So are there rules you follow?
There are no formulaic rules, but that's Williamsburg, and that's a small park, but there was
very densely populated.
Very
community.
densely populated, but actually not all that well used, and there was plenty of public involvement in it. And we met with the community; they wanted it, and it's also a park that it has some asphalt on it that's off to the side, that's not part of the green space, so it was kind of greatly complementary. But we worked with the community, and their hours are set, and the community knew it, and Friends Group knew it, and local representatives knew it. So you don't want to be formulaic, but I get that completely, and we always touch base with the community on that.
I might just suggest take a look at New York City's policies for its parks.
I will.
And think about that in the context of we don't have that much state park land in New York City, obviously. So I don't know how many replicatable situations there would be, but it's not a problem. I guess it's just a hesitation that we don't want to go down that road without thinking about it.
Yes, and one also here was not at all driven by economics. It was actually to bring more people to the park, which has been great. But I will check, because it's something that we should always think about.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Assemblyman Tatone.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner. Great seeing you again today. Just very briefly, we have Clay Pit Pond on Staten Island, which is a wonderful state park there. But we did have an incident where one of our local elected officials wanted to put a bridle path, and State Parks actually thought that was a great idea, and they started to make the plans with the former assemblyman, now a city council member. Lo and behold, DEC comes in and says, well, wait, we can't do that because there are some protected plants. And rightfully so, they said this. This has become a very contentious issue now, particularly since the Staten Island Museum, whose mission it is to protect much of the native species on Staten Island, spearheaded that with DEC. It's caused a really strange relationship now with certain city council members, the Staten Island Museum, DEC, and state parks. And I think my point is, Commissioner, when we talk about projects similar to this throughout the state, that there was a disconnect between state parks and DEC before going to the council member and saying, this sounds like a great idea. So I just, when we have these situations, that the two agencies speak to each other first and then say yes or no, so as to avoid a situation like this from ever happening again.
It's one of the governor's biggest priority is no silos, one government, one state, and it's worked very well. It sounds like it didn't work in this case, and we will make sure to do it again, and we'll look into that situation.
And now it's, people like me, the Senator Savino, and others are trying to repair hurt feelings and things of that nature. So it's just not, earth-shaking, but it is something that I think would make government work better.
And we, DEC and Parks, we overlap. We have a great relationship,
Sure.
and we're working on a ton of joint projects. And Basil and I will get right together.
I
And we'll
appreciate
get
that,
back to
and
you.
thank you again
Okay.
for all your hard work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody anymore?
Any more senators?
All right, no. To close, how are you?
Good.
Formaldehyde. What's happening with, I shouldn't put it that way. What's happening on that? I know you're overlooking, it's not our problem directly, but what's going on?
So we've been working with DEP. DEP has actually been great. We've got monitors all over the park. It was a one-time spike, and all the monitors are showing no additional spike. And we're meeting with the community, and then we're digging in to find.
You had a meeting, or you're going to have a
Oh,
meeting?
no, tons of meetings. And actually, DEP did many of those community meetings. And we haven't heard, you may have, but we haven't heard anything at all. They were very satisfied with how we were going to monitor and what we were going to do, and then also look into the long-term solution.
For the record, we're talking about Riverbank Park.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, yeah.
No, I didn't state it. Oh, all right, thank you very much. That park, you've done a lot of good there in the
Well, so have
last
you.
year. You did quite a job. And, but we're never not having enough. We'll find other things we need.
Yeah, oh, I know. And we have a great agenda for this year.
Yeah. But thank you very much for the things you've done.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. We really appreciate your presence today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Richard Ball, Commissioner of the Department of Agriculture and Markets.
Thank you.
Welcome, Commissioner. It's great to see you.
Good afternoon. It's
Usually,
great to see you.
when we talk, you're traveling somewhere in the state, as am I, so it's good to see you in person.
It's a big state.
So we look forward to your testimony.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Young, Chairman Farrell, Senator Ritchie, Assemblyman McGee, members of the Ag Committees and elected officials. I'm pleased to offer my testimony on the 2016-2017 executive budget for the Department of Agriculture and Markets. As the Commissioner of the Department and as a farmer, I am heartened to say that due to the Governor's leadership and strong partnerships with all of you, we have expanded New York agriculture. With nearly 36,000 farms across the state, agriculture is a major driver of upstate New York's economy. Agriculture has been identified in all of the upstate regional economic development councils and on Long Island as a priority for economic growth. Since 2011, the REDCs have awarded over $275 million to agribusinesses across the state. Our beer, wine, cider, and spirits producers have grown more than 150% in the past 5 years, thanks to the state's efforts to cut red tape and invest in New York's thriving beverage manufacturers. As a result of the agricultural land assessment cap, farmers across the state paid $11 million less in agricultural property taxes in 2014 and now enjoy a more predictable property tax climate. This helps to increase productivity and profitability on farms across the state. In addition, the historic commitment to farmland protection last year, the increased promotion of New York's producers through the Taste New York initiative, and our ongoing work to connect upstate producers to the downstate marketplace to help boost our agricultural community. The 2016-17 executive budget recommends $153.2 million for the department, which allows us to maintain our agency's regulatory functions and to implement several key programs to further grow the agricultural industry. The governor proposes $6 million to promote and implement the New York State Certified High-Quality Food Initiative. This exciting new program will help consumers identify New York agricultural producers that are certified for their safe handling of food and for their environmental farm management practices. New York Certified provides an opportunity for New York's producers to take advantage of the growing demand for safe, healthy, and local food. This initiative will also address the mislabeling of food products through enforcement of existing laws, promulgation of new regulations that define certain problematic labeling terms, and increased product sampling and testing. The governor is also proposing an historic investment in the Environmental Protection Fund, $300 million, which more than doubles the fund level since 2011. This bold proposal has been met with great enthusiasm from the agricultural community. It includes funding increases to several programs for agriculture, such as farmland protection, the state soil and water conservation districts programs, and for invasive species prevention. The EPF allocation also includes a proposed $2.5 million in funding for the Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Program. This will allow the department to build on last year's pilot program, which was created to help mitigate the environmental impact of agriculture-related activities and increase the resiliency of farms throughout New York State in the face of a changing climate. To further promote our homemade and homegrown products, the governor has set a goal of doubling Taste New York sales. The Taste New York initiative has already been hugely successful since its launch in 2013. The executive budget includes $1.1 million to expand Taste New York with 4 additional stores, new concession partnerships at sports and entertainment locations, and new locations within the New York State Park system. The department's Farm to School program awarded funding for the first time last year to school districts and education partners to put more healthy and locally grown foods on school menus and to strengthen connections between farms and schools. The governor proposes an additional $350,000 this year to expand the program and to increase the capacity of additional schools across the state to purchase from local farms. In addition, in this new year, we will see a greater focus on anti-hunger issues in the state with the establishment of the New York State Council on Hunger and Food Policy. As Commissioner, I will be proud to chair the council, whose role will be to advise the state on policies and programs to improve access to healthy, locally grown food. The governor has proposed a host of initiatives in this year's executive budget proposal that will have a significant effect on New York's agricultural industry by reducing overall business costs. Approximately $1.1 million in small business, approximately 1.1 million small businesses, including farms, will benefit from the governor's proposed $300 million small business tax cut. The elimination of throughway tolls for farmers using Easy Pass is estimated to save the agricultural sector $5 million annually. In addition, expanding a tax cut for breweries to include cideries, wineries, and distilleries would provide $2 million in savings, allowing our beverage producers to reinvest in and grow their operations. This is tremendous news for our farmers and producers. I'm confident all of the proposals laid out today will leverage the good work of the industry for an even stronger agricultural economy. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to call on the Chair of the Senate Agriculture Committee, Senator Patty Ritchie.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Senator.
I'd like to start off by just saying I appreciate the time you spent with me in my office earlier this week to talk about the budget. It is because of that I'll keep my questions fairly short. Much of the aid to localities has been cut out of this budget this year, and I know the Senate believes that those programs are extremely important to the farmers in continuing to grow their business. In the past, the executive has been supportive of making sure those programs are contained in the final budget. Could you tell me your feelings on those programs and whether you believe that the executive will be supportive in the end?
I think we have at the core here an excellent budget to help carry out our core mission at the department. It's been very exciting to me to be a part of so many good things that are happening in agriculture right now. And I think, as you and I discussed, and I think we completely agree, there's a number of items on the local assistance budget that are critical to agriculture. And I certainly look forward to working with you and seeing how we can do an even better job on those items in this budget process.
As far as the market orders that are proposed to be transferred to ESD and also Pro Dairy being transferred to the EPF fund, I have a couple concerns there. First of all, on the market orders, I have never heard a complaint from the industry on market orders, so I'm fearful of allowing that to happen given the fact that we have no complaints and that we want it to continue to move as easily as possible. So that's a concern. And second, given the fact there are a number of competing interests under the EPF, moving Pro Dairy, which is an important program for agriculture, to compete in that is something that also concerns me.
Okay. With regards to the market orders, that is the industry's money, really. You know, that's market-based, and the money basically flows through our department. We chair advisory committees and oversee what they do with the money and pay attention to that. I think this is largely a great synergy and a great cooperative effort between us and our partners at Empire State Development. They've got great fiscal and great marketing capacity there. And we're still going to stay involved with the market orders. We're going to monitor them. The growers will still talk with us. But it shifts some of the burden of that regulatory part onto Empire State Development, where they have the capacity to do it. We have a pretty good history of working with Empire State Development. We do more things with them every year. They've been partners with us on tourism and agritourism, Taste New York, and our branding program going forward, New York Certified. So I think it's a good synergy for us, frankly. I don't think our growers will notice a difference in how their market orders perform. With regards to the EPF, you know, we saw the opportunity, and the governor made a big commitment to the Environmental Protection Fund. And I think looking at things that are environmentally focused in our budget, frankly, gives them a solid line over there at the EPF, and I think it's a good fit.
And I would like to ask a question about Cornell, which is our land-grant university. You know, I believe Cornell is very important to the state and helps us compete. It's responsible for cutting-edge research, and, you know, in the past years, we haven't really kept up with the demand. I know research is critically important. The vet school is full. Just wondering your feelings on whether we are putting enough resources to help prop up Cornell, or if that's something we should definitely be looking at.
You know, we're so fortunate in New York State. When I think about the resources we have in our state, in our land, in our grower community, in our access to water, but I think also in our access to, you know, one of the best land-grant schools in the United States, and clearly a leader in food safety. We need more from Cornell as we go forward. and not less. And I think that these are discussions that we have with the dean, and I think Cornell is beginning to feel like a second home for me. We have great conversations with them about how we accomplish this. Certainly, we need to do a lot more work with Cornell. You know, we're talking an awful lot about growing our marketplace in New York. That takes more than just put more things on the shelves. It takes growing the parking lot, which is our marketing, and growing our back room and our warehousing. But it's going to need more research, more applied research to help us stay in front of our consumers. So I agree with you, look forward to working with you on that very much.
And just recently, the governor has invested a lot of money in the state fairgrounds. We have so much need in local fairgrounds across the state and have had no capital funds there. That's something that is, I think, a concern for many of us. And, you know, once again, would like to hear your feelings on whether you think our local fairs are important and we need capital funding to help make sure that they can stay viable.
Sure. Our state fair and our local fairs are both such important points of contact today between agriculture and the public. Farmers represent about 1% of the population right now, and that means 99% is off the farm. So here's a great point of contact between those two communities, and it's so important that we take care of that opportunity and make it a positive experience. So we're hearing from the county fairs. We talk with them quite often. As you know, I get to go to quite a lot of county fairs and get to talk to a lot of folks. Many of you have escorted me around your county fairs. Appreciate that. And I would agree that they could use an uplift, they could use a little help there, and I'd be happy to speak with you about that and hear your thoughts about that, very much so.